Okay, we are back with episode 13. Oh my goodness. The Move Worthy podcast with Jenny
and Lauren.
And today we're going to talk about first-time homebuyers. Who is a first-time homebuyer? What should first-time homebuyers be doing?
What shouldn't they be doing?
Both, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauren, I mean, you're working with a couple of them first-time buyers right now.
Right now.
What does that look like, and what should they be looking out for?
So I think it is super, super imperative that you have a knowledgeable lender, and not just knowledgeable, someone that can really go into depth. If you're calling a lender and they're saying, yes, I can pre-approve you, and that's the end of the conversation, you need to not go with them. There needs to be way more detail and in-depth conversation with lenders and first-time home buyers. There's so many things that they need to know and need to be aware of before they get into a buying process. I think that's first and foremost.
Right. I think that happens a lot, unfortunately.
It does.
They're like, oh, I'm pre-approved, and they called us.
And they have no idea.
And they don't know about closing costs.
No.
Don't know what the insurances are going to look like.
Nope.
Only really know what a note might be just based on a sale price.
Or just principal and interest. You know how many lenders will say, "Oh
yeah,
P&I? Oh yeah, your P." They say P&I. Like, well, first time home buyer has no idea what a P&I is.
Right.
But they're saying a number, and the first time home buyer is taking that number and legitimately thinking that this is what I'm going to be paying if I'm shopping for a house that's $250,000. You know, well, that's not. Add about $300 to $500 a month in insurance and taxes.
Yes.
That is more realistic.
Yes.
But if you don't have a lender that's not prepared to have these conversations up front, first and foremost, it makes it even more difficult to hear it from your agent when you start shopping.
Right.
Because you're going to hear it.
When you're in
the element and you've been looking, yes, and you've been looking on Zillow hours upon hours upon hours at a certain price point, and you are slimming down exactly what it is that you're looking for, and to find out, okay, no, this is not reality.
This is not going to work.
This is, and I think, not only is the lender and the pre-approval process super, super important before a first-time home buyer goes out shopping. I said the wrong words before that. I didn't mean to say not only, but the alternative to that, to not having a pre-approval, to not have talked to a lender, is even more devastating.
Yes.
You start looking at houses, and sometimes an agent will spend days, weeks, with a buyer that's shopping around at a certain price point because they know that's what they're going to be working with.
Right.
And then they can't. It's a complete waste of time.
It is.
And it's heartbreaking.
And I think, too, as we grow in the industry, we gain more experience as realtors. Mm-hmm. We have seen that devastation in our earlier years because we were taking out buyers who may not have been pre-approved right away. Yep. Or a friend of ours who's like, we want to go see some houses, and if we find something, then we might buy. And But then when you see 10 houses, they love one, try to get pre-approved, and they can't. It's devastating all around.
Absolutely.
And I think as we have grown, we won't do that anymore.
And especially now, because now with everything that has changed and the buyer agency thing, agents are not going to get into a situation with a first-time home buyer and not have a pre-approval, because honestly, at this point, you have to agree to a buyer and a buyer agent contract before you start shopping for houses. So you really need to know
your numbers.
You need to know where you can afford, what you can afford, and where you need to be. That's definitely one thing that I probably did not make such a big deal about in previous years with first-time home buyers, but now it's super important.
You want to meet, you want to build that rapport.
Yes.
You want to have a good relationship with that buyer, get to know them a little bit.
Yep.
So we would go out and show some houses. Mm-hmm. But yes, today is definitely a different environment.
Yeah.
A different climate
yes.
out there.
For sure.
For many reasons.
Yes.
Not just by our agency. It's,
It's just added another, another kink to the process.
Another line
Yes.
to the ethic. It's just another line item. But I think having a great agent to go through that process with you, to go through the numbers with you, I think you do a great job of that for buyers and sellers. I like the estimates you give them. Like, hey, if this is the house you love, here's what you're looking at. Insurance quotes, taxes. We try to get it down as best as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, and you do a great job at that.
Well, thank you.
All the time.
And I think most first-time home buyers don't always know options for lending. So I think it's super beneficial, not only for, an agent they can certainly give you some helpful resources on that. They can give you references to certain lenders, but there's a lot of things out there. And, sometimes they'll go to,
a local bank,
or a credit union, we hear that a lot. And it's this is all you got. This is what we can give you. And while you may be okay with it, agents can help you with that. There are other lenders out there that offer USDA loans, federally backed and governed loans. There's RD loans. I mean, there's all kinds of programs out there where they can offer closing cost assistance, down payment assistance. I mean, there are, while you may be fine and you may qualify for a straight up conventional loan with 10% down at 6.875, there could be other options out there.
Well, FHA, I had a couple of sales last year. My clients were absolutely going to do 20% down, conventional loan. Well, when they talked to the lenders and they said, hey, look, I know you want to do it this way, but if you go FHA, you only need to put this down. Your note is going to be better than that conventional loan. The interest rate was different. The PM, like all of it. And I was like, wow. Yeah. But not everyone is going to go through that entire process with a buyer. No. They're just going to, I mean, I hate to say that, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all lenders are really looking for these options, but I would have to say that some of them are just, oh, you want to do conventional 20% down? Okay, sure, I'll run that loan for you.
I'm actually working with a first-time home buyer right now, and they were approved with their local bank, and I'm not going to get into names, but it was a conventional 10% down, 6.875% interest rate, 30-year fixed rate. However, first time, and this happens a lot for first time home buyers, their monthly note is what is most important.
Yes.
Because when you're a first time home buyer, you're starting off your career, you're living paycheck to paycheck. It's not like you have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved. So their monthly note is super important. So, I got their pre-approval. I know.
Getting into a house is super important.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you already have a house and you don't have to buy, you may not be quick to jump into these higher interest rates or insurance rates.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just saying that, they want a house. And the note is the bottom line. So
their note is the bottom line. Well, so we start shopping for houses in a specific price point based on their pre-approval. But when I showed her an estimate and a breakdown of what that looked like with her escrows and taxes, she was blown away. Blown away. In her mind, she legitimately thought that she was going to be in the $1,500 price point. And she was she was $400 to $500 off per month. Yeah. So then I step in and say, okay, here are some different things that we could do. We can, we can see if your lender will offer, buy down programs, and we can see if, you can, down payment isn't an issue for her. So that part was fine, but, assumable mortgages, there's other things.
Other options.
And but they just, first time home buyers are they're green. And so it's in my opinion, it's super important to have a really good agent that can open up all opportunities and not just be a quick contract and a sale.
And a sale, yes. And sometimes
they're learning through the whole process.
Right, correct. And sometimes that looks like maybe now is not the right time.
Yes.
I've had that conversation.
Absolutely.
And I've had a couple of people say, I'll just wait. I'll save up some more money. And I said, that's totally fine. You
Yes.
have to be comfortable with that monthly note.
Yep.
And you have to be comfortable with knowing that some of these prices are going to increase in the coming years,
Yep.
too.
Yep.
And just setting them up for success rather than upset, defeat.
Yep.
3 years into their mortgage and they're just drowning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not fair. It's not fun. Why
No.
would you want to put anyone
I agree.
through a situation like that?
I agree. I met with a new first-time home buyer last night, and sometimes I feel like I give too much information. But after we left, and she texted me and she said that she felt so comfortable. She learned so much in that 1 hour of us being together that, and I look, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not, but it makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
To just sit down and talk through it with them. This is
Yes.
not something that they're getting from just everybody. So be that person.
Be that person.
Be that person to provide that information for sure.
And I think that's where all the online comments, oh, why do you need a realtor? They just open doors. We do not just open doors.
No.
At least we don't. And
No.
a lot of the agents that we know and are friends with don't. Like, we are giving great information. We are helping them through a huge process.
A huge process.
And making sure they understand it and are comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because if you're just out there opening the door to get through the inspection, to get through the appraisal, to get to the closing table,
You're in the wrong business.
You're in the wrong business. You're doing a disservice to
Your clients.
our potential clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't even fathom why people think that so much about real estate agents when we do so much more.
Yeah.
I mean, we treat people like family, like
Yeah.
we would our own kids.
Right. Yeah.
So that's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's probably top priority for first-time home buyers for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they are the future. They are our children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our kids are getting older. They are the future coming up buying houses, and it's not getting easier.
Yeah.
It's not getting cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Like that note that your client was thinking that she was going to get or have, I mean, maybe 5 years ago, but definitely not in today's market, unfortunately. But there are ways to get that note to a comfortable point.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Okay. I think there's a lot of, honestly, I think we should cut it here. I feel like we're doing first-time home buyers, but I think there's a lot of areas that can be discussed and elaborated on, like, insurance quotes and inspections and
Yes.
unrealistic photos on the
Online,
internet.
I
Like,
know.
there are a lot of things that you teach a first-time home buyer.
Yes.
So,
Or even like, do you want to do work or do you not?
yeah.
And sometimes they're like, oh, sure, I'll do work. And then you go see that house that's
Yeah.
in average to fair condition. They're like, oh, no, not that much. I meant painting walls.
Right.
That's where the good questions come in. Like,
Yeah.
what are you actually willing to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my first buyers, I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, is I showed them 40-ish houses of all different conditions in all different areas, and you learn a lot about a buyer in that process.
The buyer learns a lot about themselves.
This is true. They go through the.
Sometimes when you schedule your first showing, it's like, I don't know, I just want to see this house, and you go in there and it's like they like nothing about it.
Right. So they learn. You're
So
right.
they're learning what they want to see in a house.
Right.
So it's definitely a process. But I think there are so many things that we can touch on the first-time home buying process. Obviously, the vast part of this is getting with a lender and getting with an agent first and foremost.
Yes.
Know what it is that you're looking for. And if your lender is not providing you all of the details, ask your agent.
Yes.
They have the ability to write you estimates that show you. They have access to flood premiums. They can get insurance quote. They can do what you need them to do to get a dollar amount and see it, look at it.
Right.
So
Correct.
I think that's for first time home buyers.
It's a lot of information.
Have an agent, have a good lender, know exactly what you're doing before you start shopping.
Absolutely. Know what you want to spend. Know what you're comfortable with.
Yes.
So, all right. That was great stuff as always. And like you said, we can touch on this later and get really into some of the other parts of the process. So that is, I'll just call it part 1 of first-time home buyers. And we are the Move Worthy podcast with myself, Jenny Lindley.
And Lauren Jones.
And together we have the experience to move
you forward.